According to the Indian media, more than 10 to 15,000 Chinese troops has been camped in Galwan Valley in Ladakh in India, which is inside Indian territory. The Chinese forces put up tents, dug trenches, and moved heavy equipment several kilometers inside Indian territory. The move came after India built a road several hundred kilometers long that connecting to the high-altitude forward air base, which is reactivated in 2008. World's two largest nuclear power and the world's largest armies came face to face at the main point. In a strategic move, India and Australia have signed a comprehensive strategic partnership deal to join hands against China. While India and Australia are standing tough against China in these uncertain times, this remarkable move makes this deal a most important one. India's peace talk with China is still not yet going positive. This landmark deal will impact China hardly, as world's biggest democracies as the US, India, the UK, France, Canada and Australia are joining hands against China. The mutual logistics support agreement between India and Australia gives a pass to India's growing military power in the Indian Ocean region. In this deal, India can use Australia's air bases and naval bases to refuel, rearm, repair, dock and ammunition their ships and air forces of India. As the tensions rises in the Ladakh region in the India-China border on Monday, with series of eye-to-eye standoff between India and Chinese army. Now it led to India banning Chinese companies in India. The Indian Railways and the Department of Telecommunications has said to the state BSNL telecom communication company not to use or buy Chinese-made equipment in its upgradation or in the future development, a top source told to the Indian news media. The number of Chinese companies invested heavily in India are Alibaba, Xiaomi, Tencent, China Eurasia Economic Cooperation Fund, DD Shongying, Shunwei Capital, and Fosun Capital. They have invested also in the major Indian companies like Paytm, Ola, Snapdeal, and Swiggy. The Alibaba has invested in Paytm very heavily. According to an Indian media report from the Indian Express, Chinese have invested over $5.5 billion in India's startup in the last 5 years. The bilateral ties between India and China have increased fastly from 2000 to 2018. India has decided to strengthen its aerial might by buying 33 Russian jets. Indian Navy and Indian Air Force, on the other hand, are on high alert and doing heavy patrol near the Ladakh and the Malacca Strait regions. The proposal for buying 12 new Sukhoi and MiG-29 jets has been forwarded to Indian government for very urgent purchase from Russia, which will be a 5,000 crore worth deal. Mostly it will be approved this week. This is the second lot of purchase after the 36 Rafale jets. This comes at a time where India and China are locked in a serious standoff in Ladakh region. Also, India wants to buy the spare equipments with the purchase of 33 jets from Russia. Indian Air Force are patrolling along the LAC with the fighter jets and the scrambled radar-based planes along with the LAC. When the Chinese intrusion occurred in India, Indian Air Force went into high alert. The Ministry of India is in Russia, convincing Russia to send all its equipment and spare parts of the tankers, Air Force jets, and Navy ships and submarines. Originally, it used to be arriving to India by ships. Now, India wants it by sending the equipment through the airways. Also, India wants S-400 system to be delivered to India as soon as possible. Now, India has moved its new surface-to-air defense system near China border. As part of the ongoing standoff and the build-up in the Ladakh region, Indian Army and the Indian Air Force have deployed air defense system. which Indian media says that it came from their friendly country. Well, the friendly country can be Israel or mostly or United States. Russia said S-400 can be delivered in 1 or 2 months' time, and other military equipment will come daily from Russia. So the new defense system might be like S-400 or just a land-to-air defense system from Israel or US. Now Galwan Valley and the Ladakh region have become full-fledged battle zone. US has warned China on its behavior against India. As already the Indian allies are pouring in their support to India, now they are sending military equipments and accepting India's request for more military equipments. Its old ally Russia has said okay to deliver all the military equipments daily basis worth $1 billion. Israel to send land-to-air defense system, France to send 4 to 6 Rafale jets, while US already said many details about India and China's tension and stretched their full support to India. Indian military officials are seriously talking about two-front battle against India. China and Pakistan are trying to use the distraction in the uncertain situations. While Pakistan is already hindering India, while China was intruding into the Ladakh region, Pakistan was intruding into the LOC. India had not to defend the both borders at the same times before, but now seems inevitable, maybe if the battle happens. As the Galwan Valley situation is escalating, Indian Air Force have deployed its frontline jets. Also, along with the transport airplanes like C-17 and C-130J are being kept ready, along with Apache helicopters and Chinook heavy lift helicopters. Along with this, India has activated and fastened the works in Andaman and Nicobar Islands, which is India's only tri-service base with Army, Navy and the Air Force. Now India has increased and fastened the military infrastructure development in the islands. This is the most important military outpost and base which overlooks every movement into and from East Asia, which is important trade route for China. The Andaman and Nicobar Islands airbase runway will be extended now so that the bigger airplanes can land and take off quickly. If India wants, it can stop every ships entering into the Malacca Strait. As we said before, India and the US Navy held the naval exercises in the Indian Ocean region near the Malacca Strait. India also had a similar naval exercise with Japan and France. India, US, Japan and Australia are going to conduct the biggest Malabar exercise in the coming months. As the US and India are sending a clear message to China, UK has also joined the list. UK Navy is also sending its aircraft carrier HMS Queen Elizabeth to South China Sea in the coming months. According to the Times of India, India's new ally United States has deployed the B-2 bomber Spirit Steel, which is capable of dropping nuclear bombs, which now have landed in the Indian Ocean at the naval base of Diego Garcia, which is very much closer to the India. The Prime Minister of India, Mr. Modi, and the Prime Minister of Japan, Shinzo Abe, has a scheduled meeting in 2 months' time. They will decide what's the next step to act on China and its expansionism. The two PMs are expected to sign a military logistical pact, acquisition and cross-serving agreement, and a possibility of shifting Japanese manufacturing from China to India. According to some officials, both countries' PM will hold a meeting in October of 2020. This meeting comes at a time when the Chinese tranche aggression and standoff happening in the India-China border.
India successfully test fires its hypersonic missile in the coast of Odisha. So far, the Russia, China and the US have been developing hypersonic test vehicles.
India and therefore the UK is within the final stage of agreeing on a key defence logistical pact, reflecting a policy shift in London because the Boris Johnson government finalizes its once-in-a-generation integrated review of Britain's policy, defence and international development within the post-Brexit world. Experts say the MOE is a component of replacement approach to India, and Asia, which will be outlined within the high-level review to be released in November of 2020. The official announcement on Wednesday last week that the Defense Logistical Pact is within the final stage of the agreement between the New Delhi and London is a component of several defense-related deliverables within the pipeline. It's seen as the London starting to move beyond attempts to balance the relationships. China has built a road in the same area that stretches approximately 9 kilometers inside Bhutanese territory. It is believed that this road could ultimately give the Chinese forces an alternative route to Zhompleri Ridge, which the Indian Army had prevented Chinese forces from accessing in 2017 when the two sides faced off or standoff on Doklam Plateau. Now 3 years later, Chinese construction workers working on a different axis have built a new road along the banks of Torsa River, which extends southwards from border between China and Bhutan. This lies less than 10 kilometers from the site of 2017 face-off between Indian and the Chinese forces, which lasted more than 2 months and was only resolved when Prime Minister of India Mr. Modi and President Xi Jinping of China met in Wuhan in April of 2018, where they agreed to de-escalate the tensions. In October of 2018, a veil of secrecy around India's nuclear submarine program and country's costliest defense project was lifted for the first time when India acknowledged that INS Arihant, its first SSBN, a nuclear-powered submarine equipped with nuclear-tipped ballistic missiles, and completed its first deterrence patrol. Before that development in 2017, the second boat of the Arihant class, the bigger, improved and better armed INS Arihant, was launched silently. Now, on a report of Indian media, the Prince says, the boat is in the final stage of sea trials and is likely to be commissioned into service earlier next year. The source quoted saying that it should be done or commissioned early by next year. The report, citing sources, adds that the submarine was performed well during the sea trials and its commissioning has been delayed by the outbreak of the COVID-19. Although the efforts behind the project is indigenous, with 60% of the components for the Arihant class being sourced from the local manufacturers, the Indian Navy was benefited from a close design and technical cooperation with Russia. The work on SSNS will continue as the Navy indexes the SSBNs. The next two SSBNs and the INS Arihant and Arihat, identified as the S4 and S4 Star for now, are under construction at the shipbuilding center in Visakhapatnam. These two boats will displace at least 1,000 tons more than the 6,000-ton INS Arihant. The boats will be capable of carrying 8 3,500 km range K4 submarine launched ballistic missiles, while the INS Arihant can carry only 4 of these. India is also working on a new series of SSBNs, which will mark the improvement over the Arihant class. Identified as S5, this new type of submarine will have a displacement of 35,500 tons and will be capable of carrying 12 long-range nuclear-tipped missiles. Amid China's assertive behavior in the South China Sea, India's Defense Minister Rajnath Singh has said that Indian Navy's INS Kiltan's warship have been sent to visit and contribute to security and stability in the region. INS Kiltan, an indigenously built anti-submarine warfare stealth corvette, has arrived in Nan Rang port of Con Chi Minh City of Vietnam on December 24th to deliver 15 tons of relief materials to the flood-affected peoples of central Vietnam. Vietnam has a 1,650 km coast facing the South China Sea and 1,300 km land border with China. With China laying complete claim to the South China Sea, the two communist countries are locked in a conflict for nearly 50 years. India, which is also locked in a border standoff with China in the Himalayas, has extended supports to Vietnam for secure its Indo-Pacific region. Beijing sees this as an alignment as an offshoot of New Delhi's cooperation with Washington on its offensive against China. In 2018, Hanoi had granted exclusive access to Indian Navy ships to use Harang Port, which is a stone thrown from the Cam Ranh Bay port, a deep-sea inlet shelter in southern Vietnam. The Cam Ranh is one of the best deep water ports in the entire Indo-Pacific region, conducive of docking submarines as well as huge aircraft carrier and other naval assets and vessels. So what do you think of India challenging China in the South China Sea by sending its Navy force to Vietnam and to the region of South China Sea?